This presentation is our trip to England in 2003. It was a wonderful trip. It began our interest in going to Europe. Our trip to England began one day when I was alerted to a special airline price that had just a few hours left to make the purchase. I called some friends and told them about the deal and that we were going to jump on it and invited them to do the same. Within about 1 hour, they called back that they were in. I think it was about $200 from Seattle to London and return. On this tour, we would spend several days in London, then rent a car and travel west to Bath, where we would see an ancient Roman bath. Then we would travel to Stonehenge on our way to Portsmouth, where I wanted to see the HMS Victory. Then on to the little town of Rye, then to Leeds Castle, and on to Canterbury, where we would leave the car and go back into London by train. We arrived tired from a long flight, but with adrenaline running high, we took a ride on the double-decker bus to get an idea of where things were and where we would be, things we wanted to see. For the next several days, we saw almost everything that we could, hitting the trail about mid-morning and moving until into the evening and resting at night. One of the striking things about older European cities is the skyline with the multiple chimneys coming from individual apartments and rooms. The Palace of Westminster is the meeting place of the House of Commons and the House of Lords. The first royal palace was built on this site in the 11th century. Much of it was destroyed by fire in 1834, and what is seen today was constructed from 1840 to 1870. The Elizabeth Tower, which is often referred to by the name of its main bell, Big Ben, is an iconic landmark of London and the United Kingdom in general. The Palace of Westminster has been listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1987. This photo was taken inside the Parliament building as we were on the way to the House of Commons. Just after I took the photo, an attendant called out, "No pictures." The murals on the walls depict several historical victories in expanding the British Empire. I was wondering why there was no mural depicting the loss of the United States. I believe that we were told that in this large room, Sir Thomas More was tried and convicted for refusing to acknowledge Henry as supreme head of the Church of England and the annulment of his marriage to Catherine. After refusing to take the oath of supremacy, he was convicted of treason and beheaded in 1535. This is also the room more recently Queen Elizabeth lay in state for several days. This is one of the Queen's carriages that was on display in the Palace of Westminster. On the left, Cleopatra's Needle is the popular name for each of three ancient Egyptian obelisks re-erected in London, Paris, and New York City. The one in London and the one in New York are a pair. Although all three needles are genuine ancient Egyptian obelisks, they have no connection with Cleopatra and were already over 1,000 years old in her lifetime. The London Needle was originally erected in the Egyptian city of Heliopolis around 450 BC. It remained in Alexandria until October 1877, when its transport to London was funded by William James Wilson. The Tower of London on the right, or also called the White Tower, was founded towards the end of 1066 by William the Conqueror. The castle was used as a prison from 1100 until 1952. Despite its enduring reputation as a place of torture and death, only 7 people were executed within the tower. In the First and Second World Wars, the tower was used as a prison and witnessed the executions of 12 men for espionage. On the upper left is a model of the Tower of London, or the White Tower, and then the bottom left is the Tower of London. The center bottom there is the housing for individuals that actually work and live within the walls of the Tower of London. And on the right, we have some tourists taking a break, a little ice cream there, other goodies that were available. The Tower of London houses a wonderful museum, and these photos depicts the armaments that were there in the museum. And on the right, what is said to be the Henry VIII armor. Recently understood a statement that said that in his day, that particular armor style had not been designed as yet. On the lower right, the yeoman warders, popularly known as the Beefeaters, are ceremonial guardians of the Tower of London. In principle, they are responsible for looking after any prisoners in the tower and safeguarding the British crown jewels, and now they conduct tours. All warders are retired from the armed forces and must be former warrant officers with at least 22 years of service. They must also hold the Long Service and Good Conduct Medal. The name Beefeater is of uncertain origin. In the upper left, the ravens of the Tower of London are a group of at least 6 captive ravens which live at the tower. Their presence is traditionally believed to protect the crown and the tower. A superstition holds that if the Tower of London ravens are lost or fly away, the crown will fall and Britain with it. The Tower Bridge, built between 1886 and 1894, crosses the River Thames close to the Tower of London and was designed to be similar to the Tower of London. It is sometimes confused with London Bridge, which is located half-mile upstream. This is Westminster Abbey. According to a tradition, a church was founded at the site in the 7th century. Construction of the present church began in 1245 on the orders of King Henry III. All coronations have been in Westminster Abbey. I was surprised to find that it is actually a huge cemetery with more than 3,000 individuals entombed in the walls and the floor of Westminster Abbey. What is a visit to London without a photo with one of the guards and riding on the subway? The visit to the British Museum was wonderful. We enjoyed the Bible tours conducted by Jehovah's Witnesses. There are so many things in the museum that support what we learn in the Bible. The British Museum is fascinating. You might want to consider the meander tours. They provide tours of about 90 minutes with Bible-based themes. In each tour, they take you through the museum, showing items that support Bible history. The tours are sure to enhance your appreciation for stories recorded in the Bible. One I might make note of in the center upper part there, this was a slave's headdress from Ur. Think of the wealth if this is how slaves dressed. The Bible tells us that Abraham was a very wealthy man. After touring the museum, we found a small Japanese restaurant nearby that served okonomiyaki. We had been introduced to it in Japan, where our friends called it Japanese pizza. The name is derived from the word okonomi, meaning how you like or what you like, and yaki, meaning grill. It is prepared on a grill at the table and is a vegetable pancake with your choice of toppings. Delicious. Oishi. One of our favorite restaurants in Portland, Oregon is the Marrakesh, a Moroccan restaurant. There you are seated on a cushion on the floor and you are not given silverware unless you ask for it. Entrees are served family style, and you pass them around and eat with your hands, making sure that everyone has washed their hands. We found a Marrakesh restaurant in London and thought it would be a neat experience. We were seated at a table with individual servings and silverware. When leaving, I commented to the host that it was not like the Moroccan restaurant back home. He asked where we were from, and when I said Oregon, he said that the restaurant in Portland is traditional and the one in London is not. We visited Covent Garden, which is a huge shopping facility, kind of an open market. There are vendors of all kinds, restaurants, and street entertainers. The gentleman on the right was making some beautiful music, and we actually bought one of his CDs. Hyde Park was established by Henry VIII in 1536 when he took the land from Westminster Abbey and used it as a hunting ground. The park covers 350 acres. We rented a car and headed west toward Bath. I did not do the driving, but acted as navigator. It was a little unnerving driving on the left, and especially with many roundabouts. We were charged with some minor damage to a mirror on the vehicle, but none of us could recall any moment of damage, although it could have been when we were driving through a carriage wide street in Rye. We learned a lesson. When you rent a car, always take photos when you pick it up and always take photos when you return it. Bath is about 97 miles west of London and in 2011 had a population of about 89,000. The city became a World Heritage Site in 1987. The city became a spa about the year 60 of CE, when the Romans built baths and a temple in the valley of the river Avon, although hot springs were known even before then. On the left, this was our hotel in Bath. The picture shows that at the time it was a Comfort Inn. Later, I think it was the Henrietta House. The internet says it was updated in 2017 and is now a 4-star lodge. Our room was with the tiny windows on the top floor. I am sure that if I placed a marble on the floor below the window, it would have rolled to the other side of the building where the bathroom was. On the right, as in the lobby, there was a plaque on the wall in this lobby telling that the building had originally been a private residence townhouse, and the first time that it was remodeled to be an inn was in 1807. The main attraction at Bath is, of course, the Roman baths. This site has been excavated down to the pool. Be sure to take the tour. There's a threshold on a floor below the surface that has been worn deeply by the clips that the Roman soldiers had on their sandals. In England, we found that the best places to eat were the pubs. In London, it was difficult to find one that was non-smoking. We also found that the pubs are not like our bars. In the evening, the local people gather at the pubs for conversation and a pint or two. And on the left, there's a gentleman here that we took a evening tour through the city of Bath, where he explained some history and had some stories. This bridge crosses the Avon River in Bath. It was completed by 1774. It has shops on the bridge on both sides. One shop had old coins and medals. We had a friend at the time who liked to make tie tacks and other pins from old coins and medals. I found one that I liked and I purchased it for him. At home, before giving it to him, I looked it up on the internet and found that it was the medallion of a German tank division. I told him about this and he accepted it, saying no one would know. Leaving Bath, we are headed to Stonehenge. Stonehenge is a prehistoric monument that consists of a ring of standing stones, with each being around 13 feet high, 7 feet wide, and weighing around 25 tons. Archaeologists believe it was constructed from 3000 BC to 2000 BC. The site and its surroundings were added to UNESCO's list of World Heritage Sites in 1986. It is a must-see, but about all that you can do with it is walk around the circle to admire it. In the past, tourists have done much damage to it by being allowed to be up close. Leaving Stonehenge, we are headed to Portsmouth, where I wanted to see Vice Admiral Lord Nelson's ship, the HMS Victory. HMS Victory is a 104-gun, first-rate ship of the line of the Royal Navy that was launched in 1765. Photos of the real ship on the left here, and on the right is the photo of the model that I made several years ago. I believe I put in about 4,000 hours making that model. The ship is best known for her role as Lord Nelson's flagship at the Battle of Trafalgar on October 21, 1805. In 1922, she was moved to a dry dock at Portsmouth and preserved as a museum ship. She is the world's oldest naval ship still in commission. Her length is 227 feet. In the Battle of Trafalgar, Nelson had a tactic that was unusual. Warships would generally line up broadside and fire at each other. A fleet of 33 ships fought a British fleet of 27 ships. The admiral of the French-Spanish fleet ordered his ships to form a single line heading north. Nelson ordered his ships to attack at a right angle, cutting through the line of the French-Spanish fleet. The French-Spanish did not have a broadside shot, and as Nelson's ships passed through the line, they fired from both sides into the stern or bow of the enemy ships. 19 or 20 of the French ships were lost, and none of the British ships were lost. Vice Admiral Horatio Nelson was shot by a sniper during the Battle of Trafalgar. He lived just long enough to know that the battle had been won. Nelson's body was placed in a cask of brandy mixed with camphor and myrrh, which was then lashed to the Victory's mainmast and placed under guard. At Gibraltar, the body was transferred to a lead-lined coffin filled with spirits of wine. Killed on October 21, he was interred in a crypt in St. Paul's Cathedral on January 9th. Proceeding east along the southern coast of England, we came upon a beautiful castle in Arundel. Unfortunately, it was late in the afternoon and past the visiting hours for the castle. All we could do was walk around it. It seems like it would have been a nice castle to tour. Arundel Castle dates from 1067. From the 11th century, the castle has served as a home and has been in the ownership of the family of the Duke of Norfolk for over 400 years. It is the principal seat of the Howard family, whose heads have been first Earls of Arundel and then Dukes of Norfolk. We did not have reservations for the coming night, and we found ourselves in the smaller city of Rye. In 2011, the population was 4,773. We parked the car, left the girls there, while we walked up a street to inquire about lodging. We told the girls that the only place available was a room over a pub with a shared toilet down the hall. However, we had found the most delightful bed and breakfast that we had ever stayed in, the Rye Lodge. Years later, I found that by going on Google Earth and going to street level, I could look at the Rye Lodge just as I had done in 2003. Rye is a wonderful old city to visit. At low tide, the boats there on the upper left were sitting on the bottom in the mud. In the upper right is a very old house in Rye. This house dates from 1420. While we were touring the prison, we met a local woman who pointed out that from here you can see France, and Britain and France have never been friends. On the right side, bottom, the city of Rye is on the coast southeast of London. This is an interesting old city where we walked on streets over 400 years old. The city was an outpost guarding against the French. The people here still do not like the French. Leaving Rye, we proceeded on to Leeds Castle. The castle is unusual in that it is not sitting on a high hill. We were driving along through a timbered area and came upon an opening, and there was one of the most beautiful castles surrounded by a moat. This castle was occupied until 1974, so we saw rooms that were modernized for the owner. We took the self-guided tour, and I ended up in the library before the others. There was a guild member stationed in the library, and he showed me a set of volumes that looked like a set of encyclopedias. He opened one of them and showed me that the pages were hand-painted pictures of birds. The first lady of the house was very interested in birds. The castle grounds include an aviary. The castle grounds also include a maze where we spent some time finding our way to the center. It's such a beautiful place. Their advertisements boast of the most beautiful castle in the world, and it is one of my favorites. At one time recently, you could stay at Leeds Castle Bed and Breakfast for between $600 and $675 per night. From Leeds, we proceeded to Canterbury. Canterbury is a historic English cathedral city and UNESCO World Heritage Site. There are many historical structures in the area, including a city wall founded in Roman times and rebuilt in the 14th century. Canterbury Cathedral is one of the oldest and most famous Christian structures in England. It was founded in 597. The cathedral was completely rebuilt from 1070 to 1077. We left the rental car in Canterbury and took the train into London. None of us wanted to drive in London. Back in London, we enjoyed several plays, and we went to the Kensington Palace, which was at the time undergoing renovation, and the front is covered with a drape or tarp. It has been a residence of the British royal family since the 17th century. Trafalgar Square is a public square in central London. Its name commemorates the Battle of Trafalgar. The 218-foot Nelson's Column is topped by a statue of Vice Admiral Lord Nelson. The column was completed and the statue raised in November 1843. The Cutty Sark is a British clipper ship, one of the last tea clippers and one of the fastest. The maximum logged speed for the ship was 20.1 miles per hour. Her greatest recorded distance in 24 hours was 418 miles, averaging 17 miles per hour. She was involved in tea races from China to London. And our visit was in 2003. We had heard that the ship was destroyed by fire in 2007. She was restored and once again opened to the public in 2012. Toured the Queen's House, built between 1616 and 1635 for Anne of Denmark, the Queen of King James I. The Greenwich Meridian, the prime meridian, is an imaginary line running north to south through Greenwich. In 1884, the line was named as the world's longitude zero by the International Meridian Conference. Every position on Earth is defined by its longitude, its distance east or west from Greenwich, and its latitude, the distance north or south of the equator. Both latitude and longitude are measured in segments of a circle, that is degrees, minutes, and seconds. So here in these photos, we're standing on the prime meridian for a really wonderful dinner at an Indian restaurant. A visit to London would not be complete without viewing the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace. This is at the Bunch of Grapes pub. As mentioned earlier, we found that the pubs were the best places for meals. We found this to be very true. The menus were generally limited, but the food was always very good, and the prices were very reasonable. This was a wonderful trip. On our last night in London, my digital camera indicated I could take 2 more photos. We found a bench along the river and opposite the Parliament and Big Ben, and we waited a long time for this photo. So this ends our visit to London in England in 2003. We hope you enjoyed revisiting with us and perhaps you enjoy another trip with us.